My Hero Academia's gut-wrenching, action-filled, blood-filled war arc has finally come to a close. It was an amazing conclusion that conveyed the emotions of both the heroes and the antagonists of the series. And almost nobody cared. With Bakugo crushing the master manipulator of All For One, and Deku completing the seemingly impossible task of defeating Shigaraki while his quirk One For All was quickly diminishing, it's actually kind of befuddling how everybody saw the one panel of Gojo's silhouette in the ongoing JJK series and everybody lost their shit and nutting over just the possibility of Gojo making a comeback and not being dead. But when My Hero Academia finally gets a conclusion to one of, if not their biggest arc, it didn't get nearly as much attention as I thought it should have. This really begs the question of how all the hype died down for My Hero Academia, considering it was one of the most popular ongoing anime since its release back in 2016 or 2017. And if you look at the series and its quote-unquote fall-off point during the anime and manga, the story never got worse, or the animation never fell off, or they didn't pull off some anime original bullshit. People simply just stopped caring and started going on the hype train for other different anime and manga. Which is kind of sad from my perspective, because although I'm not a huge fan of My Hero Academia, I can see why people would be excited about it. And the only conclusion that I could come up with, in my opinion, is the My Hero Academia's fanbase and its horrible reputation from social media. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm gonna just put a few videos up here and let it speak for themselves.
Busy thinking about Bakugo.
These quote-unquote fans are the definition of peculiar, and I don't want to say it completely changed people's opinion about the anime and manga, but they changed so many people's opinion about the anime and manga. Like, everybody just switched up. If you talked about the show and how good it was, you got absolutely cooked, my boy, for liking a main character that's a quote-unquote crybaby. It got so bad that people don't really talk about it anymore because they don't want to be associated with that side of the fan base, which is pretty dominant on Instagram and primarily TikTok. And to be completely honest, I'm guilty of this shit because I didn't want to be associated with people who did shit like this. The narrative from social media for so long has been My Hero Academia sucks balls, the fan base is trash and filled with people who ship Deku and Bakugo 24/7, filled with a bunch of weirdos, and Deku's a fucking crybaby and worst new gen of all time. And also, Studio Bones apparently fumbled the animation on one of the fight scenes between Deku and Shigaraki, which made absolutely no sense to me because it looked fine to me, but otherwise, it didn't help its case at all of being perceived as a good anime at the time. However, if you look closely and push all the fan base and all that other bullshit aside, this is actually like a decent show and series. Look, I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of My Hero Academia or even saying it is the best anime and manga of all time, but it is an enjoyable series with decent writing, and besides some inconsistencies here and there, the animation is pretty good and the fight scenes are very entertaining and eye-catching. For example, Deku's whole vigilante arc was honestly pretty enjoyable. It's the only reason why I even came back into watching the anime. I honestly have no idea why I saw a lot of people complain about this arc on TikTok, because it was far from bad. From both the anime and manga perspective, it shows Deku taking out villains like it was nothing while he was at the literal point of exhaustion, displaying his growth with his power and as a hero. This arc itself, in my opinion, honestly flips the narrative that Deku is a fucking crybaby and a horrible main character. His maturity in trying to handle this huge responsibility all on his own to take out All For One implements hence the lesson of being able to rely on others and not having to be isolated from everyone else because of people's expectations of you. Not to mention that the manga has some crazy ass panels while being able to evoke the emotions of all of its heroes and villains in the final battle. Like, just take a look at some of these panels and tell me these don't go hard or have some real emotional impact to the story. Like, you can't tell me this panel of Deku losing his arms in this panel of Deku, Bakugo, Shigaraki, and All For One does not emanate aura. This series isn't bad. It was never bad, but its reputation for being that anime where the fanbase was filled with a bunch of weirdos who did shit like this.
You're the puppy.
My buzzy, beautiful sunshine nugget.
Looks like I found myself a pebble. Mi amor.
And because of the fan base and the crybabies online, the hype for this show, and it should have been at an all-time high because it's quite literally the end of the show was just a big pile of mid, and it only got a bit of attention. All I'm saying is that My Hero Academia deserves its flowers as one of the most popular animes and mangas of recent time. And the fanbase of media should not alter people's opinions of the show. And with all that aside, I just have to say, Deku, what the fuck is this yee ass haircut? You should have just gone bald, bro.